Data protection and privacy teams are under more pressure than ever with new laws, AI oversight, data breaches, and the constant expectation to do more with fewer resources.
That's why TrustArc built a modern privacy and data protection management platform powered by Arc Intelligence. It unifies your tools, automates the work that slows you down, and surfaces what matters most right when you need it.
From guided quick actions to our intelligent assistant, Ask Arc, you get credible, contextual answers backed by expert research, not generic AI guesses.
Finally, privacy that works the way privacy pros work.
Learn how TrustArc helps teams move faster with confidence at trustarc.com/serious-privacy. That's trustarc.com/serious-privacy. Getting started in privacy and data protection can be hard, especially if you land a leading role out of the blue. Maybe you have some experience with data protection already, and maybe not even that is new to you. Our guest today is Teresa Trooster-Falk, former chief strategist at Nimity, founder of Blue Sky Privacy, and yes, she used Blue Sky well before it became a social medium, and most importantly, author of the book, So You Got the Privacy Officer title. Now what? Hopefully, after this episode, compliance is a little less scary. My name is Paul Breitbart.
And I'm Kay Royal, and welcome to Serious Privacy. Ralph is clearly not with us today for this, but
He's in Brussels for IPT.
Yes, we will manage to struggle on without him. And Teresa, it is such an absolutely delight just to be able to speak with you again. It's been a few years since you and I have been able to connect, and I'm absolutely delighted that we're able to do so. That means, are you ready for the unexpected questions?
Okay, bring it on.
I have two. One I was tempted to go with, and the other one is cracking me up. So I'm going to ask the cracking me up first, and if y'all don't like it, we'll go to the other one. If you were famous, what would your stage name be?
Blackie Maine.
What?
I'm just leaving it at that.
I like it. I like it. Paul?
I'd probably stick to my social media handle, EuroPaulB. That's been with me for so long
there
now
you
that
go.
There is nothing else I can think of.
You made me recall that I didn't even think of Heart of Privacy. I was thinking my name is already a stage name, isn't it?
It is, but I mean, with Heart of Privacy on top of that.
Nobody believes Kay is really my name. There we go. Although I will say
it's privacy related. Okay, is it supposed to?
It didn't have to be privacy related. My daughter's name is Dazlin, Dazlin, and I've always joked that I hung her with the name that a CEO would never have, Dazlin Royal. She was a teacher. She said quite often the students would say, "What's your name?" And she'd tell them Dazlin Royal. And they're like, "No, not your stage name, your actual name." She said I gave her a hooker name. You didn't give her a hooker name.
I think it would be fun to drop into a live and just be somebody completely different. A famous person from somewhere. It has nothing to do with your past. I always used to tease my kids that I was going to be this character in an Ann Tyler novel. We'd be on a family vacation somewhere and they're like, "Where did your mom go?" "I don't know. She left for a walk on the beach, but that was 5 years ago." Was fighting ever in Vietnam in a tea shop 2 years ago.
We saw her doppelganger in the Philadelphia airport. Could have been her, might not have been.
She's got some neutral, weird name now. Blackie, name. Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
So, Teresa, before we dive into the book, do you remember when you first got the privacy officer title and what your thoughts were at the time?
That's a really good question. I do remember because my first job in privacy, I just had a post about this today on LinkedIn, was Privacy Compliance Associate. Okay. This was 2003. What were my first thoughts? I have no clue what this means. Literally. So what I wrote today
That's fair.
How did I land in privacy? Like a lot of us did. It was happenstance. Probably not you, Paul. You had to
for me too.
Okay. So I was an international trade lawyer in Canada. Then we moved to California, Colorado. Some kids were little, babies, toddlers. So I was looking to go back to work full time. I wanted a legal job. And my neighbor was in HR at a company called DoubleClick. And for those listening, this is like my litmus test. If you recognize that name, you were like early in privacy. And if you don't, you're newer in privacy. But I had no idea what DoubleClick was. And she pointed to a job in legal. Privacy compliance. Compliance sounded like legal. And it reported to legal, but like review privacy notices, audits. And so this was connected to DoubleClick's settlement agreement with the FTC and the state attorney general. Lucky for me, that job that I had no clue what it meant. This is 2003. Privacy in the US was HIPAA related or GLBO. I didn't know anything about that. But in the consumer world, DoubleClick was the defining kind of case study for consumer privacy. So how did it feel? Like I was going to discover something, right? But I honestly, in those days, had no clue what it was going to mean.
Would you have liked to have a manual at the time to get started?
I would have liked to have my book at the time.
Well, and I absolutely love your book. Funny enough, 2 years ago at the DC IAPP, me, Maggie Gleckley, and Ashley Slavic, that was our topic. You're now the CPO. What do you do now? And we were on the last day at 3:00 in the afternoon. We figured there would be a handful of people in there that loved it. And the room was absolutely packed with there were people standing on around the wall. So clearly information people really want. What do you do now that you're the CPO or the DPO or the top privacy person in your company? Now, we had originally come up with it because all three of us, for the first time in our careers, got the Chief Privacy Officer title that year all together. And we all raised up through privacy together. So it was good. It deviated a little bit because then we're like, it's not just CPOs that want this. If you're the top person in privacy in your company, whether you have the Chief Privacy Officer name or not, what does this mean? And so I loved it when you absolutely came out with the book because I know you. I know the kind of advice and information that you have available to you and that you would give to others if they ask or sometimes if they don't ask. So love the idea of seeing it when it came out. And I love the interest that it has generated among privacy professionals and how much people are already seeming to just rave about the book.
That I think is what has surprised me a lot. I had the idea. I love to write, but I didn't see what the angle would be to produce something really meaningful or a little different than what was already out there. And the idea came to me in the summer. I thought, I got an outline and I started writing. And I started testing some ideas on LinkedIn. And one of my first posts was, you got the privacy officer title, but you didn't get the budget, the resource. And that went a little viral in our little community, like 500 hits and 100 DMs. And what I heard was, oh my God, I thought it was only me. I didn't know that everybody else was struggling. I thought I was the only one who was lost and couldn't figure it out. I didn't know that I was the only one who didn't have budget. So that's when it was affirmed that, okay, there is a need to share. We are all in this together and everybody is experiencing so much of the same. Whether you are a CPO like you, like with tons of experience, we're still figuring it out. Like,
and we still don't have budget.
A new profession.
Still don't have budget. We still don't have a real seat at the table. Sometimes they give us a folding chair, but not always. So, yeah.
When you started writing and you had the idea in mind, okay, so indeed, we need to help each other. I guess that's the big background of preparing a book like this. Where do you start? With what was the first question that you wanted to answer?
Let me give a little more context and I'll come back to that and try to answer it. So the title was going to be something different at first, and it only changes at the end. The title was, So You Got Your CIPP. Now what? Got your certification. And so what I was seeing was our profession and our association has done a wonderful thing. I've been around from the very beginning of it, from when the conference was a couple hundred people, right? And everybody knew everybody, to what it is today. And it's elevated our profession. It's given us a community. And it's created a path to certification that is accessible, right? Our GATE is a multiple choice exam. I'm not saying it's easy, but it's a multiple choice exam. And if you pass that, you can call yourself a certified information privacy professional. And that was the gap I was trying to address, was you got the certification, now what? Because that's what I was
That's a little bit different of a slant.
It's a slightly different slant, but the book, it was the same anyway, because what's happened with the certifications is people are very motivated to get those letters. You see a ton of boutique kind of firms helping people pass that exam, helping them get the interview, supporting them in showing up to that interview to get the job, and they get it. Got brand new law school graduate or not. I was in a completely different field and got the certifications because I see this as a lucrative path. And then they get the job and go, wait, Friday at 3 p.m. when marketing is asking me if this campaign can go live, I didn't study that. It wasn't on the exam.
Friday, 4 p.m., the data breach comes in while you are still assessing the marketing plan.
Yeah.
And so that's what I was seeing out there. And those were the messages that I was getting from that first LinkedIn. You're right. Like, I have all this knowledge, but it doesn't actually directly relate to the work that I'm doing. And
I have all this book knowledge. That's what I really see as a detriment. Yeah, is it's the book knowledge, especially when some of the advice that I've given it myself is take the exam using the terminology that are in the exam books. Do not use any terminology from reality or you will fail the exam.
Yeah, there's a disconnect there. That's sure.
Yeah,
that's true. And I think our profession needs to do a little better at mentoring, all that. But to come back to your question, Paul, like, what was the first thing? I struggled with that because I didn't want to write a book that was, here are the templates to do, create a DSAR program or to do data. You and I, we worked for Nimity and TrustStar, right? We know, having supported hundreds, thousands of companies, how unique it is to each company.
Mm-hmm.
And you can produce a template. Yeah. Look, there's a million out there you can download for free or create on your own, but it's so unique. I didn't want to do that, although the book does have some basic templates. So what was the unique piece? What did I feel I would have wanted to know early on? What would have helped me most? And that was how to exercise judgment, how to prioritize, and how to make decisions, because that is what I struggled with when you're new to a profession and you have the knowledge and you know the law. We worry about everything, right? Like, I didn't know how to weigh risk. I didn't know how to determine, of those 99 things that the GDPR requires, what are the 3 that are the most important today? Everything had the same weight to me at the time, early in my career. I used the language of law in communicating with business because that was where I was coming from. So what I really focus on in the book early on is this isn't a book about, this is how you do a DSAR. It really is a book about practicality, how to exercise judgment, how to learn to prioritize, how to leverage the resources. Take everything you learned in Privacy 101 at that conference, and I'm sorry, throw it out the window. Don't start with a data map. Don't try to get exact, this is a practical way to start.
It's about having a certain attitude in the organization and showing, getting you ready to show confidence to your business colleagues and explaining in their language what it is that you expect from them instead of in your own. So you need to be able to make that translation. And Kay and I have talked about that in the past quite a bit, because the past almost 4 years, I've been doing exactly that, learning how to be a non-privacy lawyer, which is not as easy as you may think.
It's not easy. How to be a business partner, someone that they come to for advice. And I've always told people, how do you know when you have finally reached the stage of being seen as a business partner? And I say, when you get that text message or that Teams or that Slack message that says, hey, you need to come over to room 328 right now. And you go over to room 328 and you walk in and nobody is shocked that you are there, and they all know not to ask you who called you to the meeting. But it's when they reach out to you and say, we've got something going on, we need you on before it's 4:00 on a Friday, and you can't explain to someone at 5:00 on a Friday that an incident came in, because you have to assess it. But of all of the things that you have in your book, what is the one most single piece of advice you can give people?
Yes, I'm going to read it to you, okay? I thought this was so cool. Yesterday, somebody posted on their LinkedIn. Now, of course, I'm not yet. And she said, this was a surprise to me. She's in South Africa and she picked up my book.
Yes, I saw that one.
Yeah, I'm continuing my journey through the book, and these two insights have really resonated with me as a privacy professional. And she quoted these two pieces. This is from the book, and they're the two that I think are the most important. Most privacy decisions involve trade-offs. The skill lies in making defensible decisions with incomplete information.
Yes.
And privacy expertise isn't about knowing everything. It's about developing sound judgment and the confidence to apply it.
Amen. I agree with both of those so wholeheartedly, because the privacy people, and I think back when I used to blog, you remember when there were blogs? I blogged, and apparently one of my clients read this one and came and said, I promise you I'll never ask you a quick question. If you ever come to a privacy person, you say, I have a quick question. It's never a quick question. One, if they give you a quick answer, that means they don't know enough to know that they need to go ask more questions to give you a proper answer. Or they're so very well experienced and you've explored all of the caveats and you really do have just one small nuanced question to ask. More than likely, it's usually the first. They'll say no or they'll say yes, and they don't know enough to know how to answer the question. But the other one I really loved, how to make defensible decisions with incomplete information, because all of our information is always incomplete. I remember at one company when I was talking to the salespeople, I'm like, please don't do this. I cannot stand in front of a judge and defend this. And their response was, sure you can, Kay. We have faith in you. I'm like, that's not the point. That's not the point, right? It's not the point whether or not I'm magical enough to create unicorn snot. It's whether or not you're giving me the information that is actually ethical, moral, legal, and is actually defensible, right? And you never have all the information you need, ever, never.
And that was something when I look back on and not everybody is like this. I am an analytical person. I know that my tendency is to overanalyze. And many of us are.
I think
right?
we all fall into that category.
Yeah. But in a business setting, I will never forget the email that came to my inbox by our general counsel. Subject line, come to a meeting at 4 p.m. Be prepared.
Be prepared for what?
This is what was going on in the background. So, very acquisitive company. And business dev team was far along in a potential acquisition or merger, and came to privacy legal, like at the end, can you just check clause 5 in the agreement? Like wait a minute, we weren't involved at the beginning, no due diligence. We're like acquiring personal data to ingest into analytical models. So when we looked into it, I really don't believe we have the right to use the data that we are acquiring in the way that we want to. And it was just an assumption by business that we could. So I kept pressing.
And could you leave this room, please? I know we called you in, but could you?
This went on for a few weeks, right? And finally, the business person was so frustrated, they went straight to the GC to slap my hand. And so he was angry because the GC was very supportive. We are yes people. And I agreed with that. But I was pretty new in the organization. I was pretty junior. Imagine now I'm quaking in my boots. And so we called the meeting, and this lady walks through rationale, and GC says, do you agree, Teresa? And I said, no, I don't. And he said, why? And so I explained. And once I explained it, like you do have, if you're going to make that decision, you are over analytical, you better be right at this moment. And the GC was like, yeah, right. You are right. And he turned the attention to the business. How could you miss this? So thankfully that worked out. But that's an example where my call was correct. I've made others where early on, I've apologized. I've met some of those who are now clients when I said, I am so sorry we blocked all that data. I just didn't understand in 2004 that the risk was so low. But these are things I can write the book.
And this field has so many bright, hard lines, right?
Yes.
No,
exactly. So you could read this book and would I wish I had it when I started? Yes. But the truth is, even if I'd had it then, it does take time, right? To develop your judgment and your wisdom. And you can read a book that says, use sound judgment, make decisions faster. But putting that into practice just takes time. It takes time.
Yeah, it does.
Absolutely true. And one of the things I like, it's in chapter 10 of your book on handling business requests. 1 minute you're reviewing vendor contracts. The next, you've got a Slack message from marketing asking if they can upload customer email lists to LinkedIn for lookalike audience. None of this was on your calendar. So let's talk about that calendar. How do you plan your work? Is everything that seemingly you are doing is dealing with incidents and crises?
Yeah, that's a good question. What comes to mind is the quadrant of urgent and important, and we should always be working in the urgent and important quadrant. And so many of this is, right?
Yeah.
So I don't know if I have a perfect answer to that, Paul. Like when everything is urgent and important, and there's only so many limited days, I really think you got to learn to make decisions and go. And I've tested this. Like I'm a person who wants 95% before I go. And that is just not practical. Sometimes you have to go at 65 or 70%. Like you just have to. The same GC that I referenced earlier, also at an offsite in front of all of the legal team at the time, said something really important, and that's what I will say in this context. Remember, what the work you do is so important, and it really matters, and you want to get it right. But no decision that you will make will bring this company down. So make decisions and go. And if we determine that it was wrong, we'll fix it later. And so I think that's the way. That is very hard for me to do, by the way. Some people are very good at it, have no problem. It's excruciating for me because I want to know that I'm right, especially when it feels like it's also important. But you've got to make that decision. And here's y'all know Jerry Stegmeyer. He's a wonderful attorney, and he was external counsel to us a long time. And he walked us through this. What are your 3 points? What is your defensible position? And I talk about that in books. You're competing with these interests. Have a defensible position for that decision and then go and then move on and have at least 3 things. We updated the contract. We changed the notice. We reviewed the consent, whatever that is, document it and move. And once you have that, it still might not feel comfortable. You still might not, but you have something that you can rely on.
And it will, at least in my view, it will never be fully comfortable because there are so many things that I would like to work on that I'm just not getting to because there are so many other things that also need to get done. And that's, I think, in every role. That's not just in my current role, but that would be the same if I look at the things that I do for the Jersey DPA. That is the same when I was working for TrustArc and for Nimity. There were so many topics that we could write about and that we could tell our product teams to put on their roadmap for further improvement. You're never done. That's also why this work remains fun, because you are never done. But that also means
never done.
It's sometimes frustrating because you are never done.
But in the U.S., for you folks who are really focused on U.S. companies and the U.S. landscape, we have a blueprint now, right? You've got enough enforcement actions and the coordinated person to say, these are the 4 things. Make sure your consent management platform works. Make sure that it reflects your practices, that when the choices are honored, the technology works. Make sure you've got a DSAR procedure that you follow through and it works. Any vendor you're using in that third-party space, especially ad tech, review those contracts and make sure they have obligations. Like those are the three things the enforcers are absolutely focused on. We've got a blueprint for what to prioritize.
And ultimately, it's the business that can make the decision, right? Our job is to call out the risks, recommend the mitigations, and ultimately, it's the business that makes the decision. And I do hear a lot of privacy professionals, whether they're lawyers or not, say, no, it's my job to tell them whether they can or can't do something. Yes, but it's their job to decide whether or not to follow your advice because you work for a company. And if a company doesn't take risks, they're not going to grow. I don't mean I'd like them to take risks in my area. I'd like them to take risks in other areas. But that is a business reality that a lot of privacy professionals, a lot of professionals aren't comfortable living with.
A lot of privacy professionals. I think a lot of us are in this space because we care about the issue, right? This is behind every personal data point is a person. And so many professionals
we're a
feel
helping
so
profession.
passionate about that, right? And I have had to work with my team sometimes and say, you're right. I love your passion. And we are hired by the business. And you know what? No matter how passionate we are about this one thing, they have 99 other things that are equally important or many times more important. And the best we can do is present the case and allow them to make that decision. But I think there is that distinctive role, right? Are you a regulated DPO, like under GDPR, which is a different function, right? That is tell you what to do versus a privacy professional supporting the operationalization of privacy compliance. Those are very different roles.
Yeah, because the one is more of an internal supervisor, auditor. It also requires different skills. You may not be as likely to be able to speak business language if you are a data protection officer. It may also not be as required because you don't need them to get things done. You just need to check whether they do it right. It's a different kind of conversation that you would be having.
Yeah.
Teresa, you end your book with a chapter, If I Had to Start Over. So looking back at those first years, and if you would have had this book, what are some of the lessons that you would have told yourself where others can also learn from? Giving away, of course, the whole book.
I think it comes back to the point I made earlier. Be more confident in making a decision, not waiting for it to be perfect. That's the big one. And that was the big one for me. It may not apply to everyone, but I look back and realize I held up a lot of business momentum in my early years. Not just me, the team I was working with, also they were new because it just all fell like the weight of the world was on my shoulders. If I got it wrong, really bad things were going to happen. And I think that's true for a lot of professions in legal, but learn to make decisions with some confidence, like supported decisions. What are the three pieces you have in place to support this decision and move on? That's really the big one. And over time, we'll develop confidence in that.
Oh, it does. Absolutely. And that indeed is also what Kay referenced before, getting away from just the paper-based and book knowledge, but actually understanding how things work in practice. If I were to ask the same question to you, what would you tell yourself, your younger self, when you were getting into privacy? What would be your tip?
Get in quicker. I was working in privacy long before I knew I was working in privacy. I was a registered nurse when HIPAA came live, and I was educating colleagues and nursing professors and administrators and doctors what HIPAA actually meant. And then in my early 20s, I was actually, which was before that, I actually developed a privacy intake provision for mental health hospitals, inpatient hospitals, that actually became a best practice nationwide. So I should have known a lot earlier that privacy was the field that I was meant to be in, because people have even asked me, if you won that $1.3 multi-billion dollar Powerball. Would you still do privacy? And they say it scoffingly. Of course not. Yeah, I might take 6 months and go spend everything and actually afford Disney World, but I would probably set up a privacy think tank. This is what I love to do. This is what I really care about. And as you were saying earlier, if you don't care about the person that's on the other end of the data, then you're in the wrong profession. Get the heck out. This is a helping profession. People want to know, how did you go from being a nurse to being a lawyer? Aren't those diametrically opposed? No, because I'm in a helping profession. And not all lawyers are cut out to be privacy professionals. That's not to say not even all people are cut out. That's par for the course. But privacy is not an area of a law that someone can just pick up and go, this looks like a fast-growing profession. Let me learn this part and I'll have a career for the next 30 years. It doesn't work like that.
We've
not
seen a
all
lot of
lawyers
consultants
make
crash and burn when GDPR came into effect.
Yeah. And they don't. They have to be able to fit into the mindset, which is being able to understand the business, being able to be creative, to keep that in person in mind, be able to make those decisions knowing it may not be perfect. But let's not let perfection get in the way of progress, right? Is being able to be a risk taker, is being able to prioritize the 150 things on your desk into the 3 things you can get done today. And you may have made the wrong decision and you're going to get bit in the butt tomorrow morning when you wake up and realize, oh crap, this thing didn't get done. But what would I give my younger self? Get there faster. I would also marry the right man quicker too. So just throwing that out there.
Lots of lessons learned. I think I would start to understand the business a bit better and a bit quicker.
Yeah. We all wish we'd gotten there quicker, but I will say for the new privacy professionals, those that are actually in law school who know they want to be a privacy attorney, what would you tell them? They can't do it the way we did it. They're not going to learn the way we learned. They have to learn the entire world or nation, depending on where their focus is, all at the same time. We took it in bit by bit, right? We took in HIPAA, and then we took in CAN-SPAM, we took in CASEL, and we took in the credit cards, and we took in PCI. It was a little bit at a time. They have to take the whole world at once. What would you give? What advice would you give?
I think I would look for...
Don't do it. Run away. Run away.
No. Look for practical experiences right away. Right now, I see a lot of these little boutique consulting firms saying, as soon as you're in second year law, get your certification. For us, the certification was a stamp on the work we were already doing. It was a way to say, now I have this thing. Now we have a stamp before you have any experience. And so I would say, look, whether it's paid, volunteer, just get some experience.
And there's plenty out there.
Yeah.
I think I'd been teaching privacy law for quite a few years before I actually had one person in class who actually had heard of privacy before the class. And he was volunteering, interning, whatever you want to call it, with the university legal department on prepping for GDPR.
Absolutely. Teresa, your book, So You Got the Privacy Officer title, Now What, is available online and from local bookstores?
It's available wherever you buy your books. It's, of course, on Amazon in 3 forms, hardback, paper, Kindle. Some of the other sites don't offer the digital version, but wherever you buy your books, you should be able to find it.
Very good. So we'll recommend that you find yourself a copy. And if you come across Teresa anywhere around the world, I'm sure you can get an autograph in the book as well. You'll find Teresa somewhere in the world for sure. Thank you so much.
And if you put in serious privacy as a discount code, you will get nothing. Just buy the book.
We can work on that.
No, you deserve to get paid for this work. It's very valuable for everybody. So thank you for telling about your book, for joining us today. It was good catching up, and we'll see you next time.
Beautiful.
If you're a data protection or privacy professional, you already know the pressure. Non-stop regulatory change, AI oversight, internal demands, and the expectation to somehow stay ahead of it all. And the old patchwork of tools just isn't cutting it anymore.
No, That's why TrustArc created a modern privacy management platform powered by Arc Intelligence. The TrustArc platform brings your workflows, evidence, research, tasks, and applications all together in one unified and intelligent workspace so you don't waste time digging, clicking, or context switching.
With Ask Arc, your privacy assistant, you can ask plain language questions about laws, jurisdictions, or even your own program data and get credible, cited answers based on NIMBY research and more than 1,000 global laws. It's explainable, transparent, and purpose-built for data protection and privacy.
So if you need to add a vendor, create a cookie banner, or start an assessment, quick actions take formally complex tasks, turn them into bite-sized guided workflows to save you time.
It's a platform that thinks like you, works like you, and helps you move faster with confidence, whether you're a seasoned DPO or you're just getting started.
See how modern privacy gets done. Explore Arc at trustarc.com/serious-privacy. That's trustarc.com/serious-privacy.